We all can relate to the young lady we just saw. We're in the test and the time is ticking. And unfortunately for us, the time's run out. It's so frustrating because we're in class, we're studying hard, we think we're learning a lot, but then when we go to the test, it never connects. And for you, our students at Lake Tech, you're taking the TABE, you're taking the GED test, and you may take other tests along your career path. And I want to help you be successful. But the first thing is to realize one thing. A test is not a measure of your intelligence. A test is a game. That's right. And if you don't know the rules and how to play, like have a game plan, you're probably not going to be successful. So let's imagine a game where you didn't know while you were playing it if you made a good move or a bad move. And at the end of the game, instead of finding out who won, you had to wait a month or maybe a month and a half to find out who in fact won the game. Well, what kind of game would that be called? I don't know, let me think. That's right, the GED test. So, the only way you're going to be successful in the test, the only way you can really judge your performance while you're in the test is to have an actual plan that you can judge when you leave the test. Wait a minute. Are you not convinced? Well, let me tell you why you should pay attention. Because you'll be here quicker than you think. Remember her? So now that I've got your attention, let's talk about that game plan. Come with me. Okay, so you think you're ready to play, right? Hey, wait a minute, wait! Okay, before you actually start the test, remember I told you a test is a game, so you've got to have a pre-game strategy. So let's go in the locker room and talk about it.
Okay, so we're in the locker room and we're talking about pre-game strategy. So first off, you've got to eat a great meal, and I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about something more like this, and maybe if it's a meal later in the day, it's going to be something different, but the commonality is solid protein, which is brain food, and complex carbohydrates, which aren't going to drop you like a load of bricks in the middle of the test. Second, you've got to get a good night's sleep. Look at this guy. Major good night's sleep. It's going to, again, help you to maintain that brain activity that you need to perform well on the test. Third, caffeine, no caffeine. Well, it all depends. If you drink caffeine, go for it. Studies show it's going to stimulate brain activity. If you don't do it. And you may be a coffee person, you may be not. Either way, get the caffeine if you already do it. Third, don't have anything planned after the test. No dates, no movies, and especially no business deals in Switzerland. Bottom line is, if you have something planned right after a test, you won't be thinking about the test, you'll be thinking about what you have planned afterward. And 5, only bring the required materials you need to the test. So look at this guy. Does he really need a helmet? And give me a break. Mr. Incredible, what's he doing there? And I know you might be a germaphobe, but leave the hand sanitizer at home. And come on, guys. 2 cell phones, can you say overkill? You can't use them in the test. And lastly, your lips look fine. At the end of the day, all you need is something to write with, your keys to get there, an ID, and the paperwork to get in the test.
All right, now since we've talked about the pre-game strategy, let's talk about what you're going to do when you're in the test. So you notice I've got 2 basketballs. And just like these 2 basketballs, when you're taking a test, there's 2 types of questions. You have your Plan A questions and you have your Plan B questions. So what's a Plan A question? It's a good question. A Plan A question is a question that when you're taking the TABE, right, or the GED test, and you come up to the question, you read the question, you go, bingo, I know the answer, automatic. It's one of those questions that before you even look at the multiple choice options, you can answer the question. Now, unfortunately, many of us, well, we're less than honest with ourselves as we should be. And so we come up to a question that we think we know the answer, well, we kind of, well, maybe, well, sort of, and then you know what happens. When you get to the end of the test, you found out you missed the question. Or worse yet, you did it on a whole bunch of questions. Kinda, sorta, maybe kinda. And instead of answering questions, you were guessing. Kinda like this guy. So you obviously don't want to perform like that guy did on the test. Okay, so you've got to be honest with yourself. And if it's a question that you really can't answer right out of the gate, go for it. That's called a Plan A question. So let's talk about Plan B questions. So you've got 4 answers sitting in front of you. And you're not really sure about what the answer is. Well, instead of having a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right, did you know that on multiple choice question tests, there's 2 obviously wrong answers? That's right, there's two of the answers on that question that are wrong. So if you simply identify the 2 wrong answers, you just increased your chances of getting it right by a pretty considerable margin. Let's go back and do the math together. So, if you just try to find the right answer out of 4, you've got a 1 in 4 chance. That's a 25% chance of getting it right and a 75% chance of getting it wrong. But if I simply eliminate the 2 wrong answers, I've got a 50% chance of getting it right and a 50% chance of getting it wrong. Let's go a little further. That means that you increased your likelihood of getting it right by 100%, and you decreased your likelihood of getting it wrong by 67%. Hey, that's the kind of math that we want going for us. So once you've got your 2 choices in front of you, you got to make a decision. Do the best that you can and choose the best answer. And remember, once you get through that question, you're going to have another set of answers right after it. Answer all the questions. For the test that you're going to take, like maybe a TEAS test for nursing, TABE test to finish out your program, or the GED test, there's absolutely no points taken off for answering a question. So give it a shot. I almost forgot. Sorry about that. Okay, so you're looking at your study guide right now and you're thinking to yourself, there's a question there about how much time you should have left. Well, here's the thing. It's pretty cool. If you pick those 2 wrong answers and you set them aside and you use this strategy, Plan A, Plan B, Plan A, Plan A, Plan B, Plan B, you should have about 20% of your time left over at the end of the test. Now here's what's cool. What do we all do? Okay, we've all been there, right? We're taking a test and we get stuck on that hard question. Because we don't have a strategy, we just spend like 10 minutes on that question, and then we have 15 questions left, and we have 2 minutes left in the test, and we just keep going. We're like, and those last 10 questions we could have got right, but we didn't get them right because we got them wrong because we didn't have a plan. So with this strategy, you're going to actually have about 10-20% of the test left. So for the TABE, that's about 5 minutes. For the GED test, it's even more, to answer those questions that you just had no clue. So instead of panicking, you're going to be relaxed, calm, cool, and collective. And that's what you need to be successful on a test. All right, you're done with the test. What are you doing? You're sitting there, you're happy, you go home, you tell people, yeah, I finished the test. Here's what you need to be doing. Okay, you need to be asking yourself how I did on the test. And not that kind of how I did on the test where I tell people, yay, I feel good inside, yay. Okay, you need to actually have some way of judging how you did on the test. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, did you have anything planned after the test? So ask yourself that question. Did I have anything planned after the test? Yes, I did. Shame on you. No, you didn't. Yay for you. You are the winner because you didn't have anything planned after the test. Because if you have something planned after a test, guess what? You're not going to be thinking about the test. You're going to be thinking about what's after the test. You're going to be thinking about what's her name. You're going to be thinking about what you did. You're going to be thinking about, you get the point, right? But the second thing is you've got to make a judgment on how you actually performed in the test. And that's really important, that you make that judgment not based on how you think you did on the questions, but on actually how you perform the strategies we've talked about in terms of your pregame and in terms of your endgame strategy. So let's judge, again, our performance not on how we think we did on a test, but on how we performed using these strategies. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how am I going to do this? Well, go to your instructor. They've got a guide for you to actually make this judgment, give yourself a grade, and now start to create a plan for how you can improve yourself on the next test. So go see your instructor. hit the other button. You know. Okay, good, great. I think it's on. Yeah, okay, it's on. Okay. All right, so you wanted bonus. I know you were like, all right, I got the test taking over. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, the guy starts off with a beard, then he has a goatee, now what's on his face? Well, I have no idea and I can't explain it, but you're not here to learn about my facial hair. You're here to learn about soft skills on test taking. So let's actually talk about that. There's 5 soft skills that I want to focus on. And the first is one that seems pretty simple, but it's one that I see students really fail to do a lot. And number 1, which is you've got to read directions thoroughly and scan through the test. Sometimes not knowing the directions and not really knowing where you're going in the test can bring you a lot of anxiety. And that's what these soft skills are about, is making sure that you're in control when you're in the test. So read the directions carefully. Got it? All right, soft skill number 2. Let's talk about this. This is one that might seem a little silly, but did you know that breathing results in oxygen going in your body? Let's think about that one for a second. Yeah, that's right. But the problem here, I know I'm stating the obvious, but the problem is that when we're in tests, what happens when we get nervous, we start shallow breathing. Like this. And we actually stop breathing. I mean, literally, sometimes people will stop breathing for like 30 seconds to 45 seconds and you don't even realize it. And then you go. Okay, and by doing that, you're decreasing the oxygenation to your brain, which means your brain isn't performing at its highest possible standard. Okay, so we want you to perform the best you can. So I encourage you to, as you sit down, start to control your breathing. And you're probably looking at me right now thinking, this guy looks a little weird. But think about it, guys. This is my test. If I don't do well on this test, then I don't move on, I don't pass go, and I definitely don't collect $200. So who cares what you think or anyone thinks about how I breathe? Guys, this test is about you, so do what it takes to be successful. So take care of your breathing. Number 3, and this is kind of a cool one. A lot of times when we look at a test, people get a test and I watch them. They go, oh, look at all this stuff. And their eyes go everywhere all over the test, and they're trying to do an equation, a fraction problem, multiplication, division, you name it, all at one time. You can't do everything at once. So force your eyes to the top left of the page. Because in English, everything starts at the top and everything starts at the left. So if you force your eyes to the top left, you're in control of the test. Now here's the deal. We're talking about being in control of the test. Well, there's really only 2 options when you take a test. Okay, either you win or the test wins. So you've got to execute in slow motion. If you ever see the movie The Matrix, you know where Neo's like, and the bullet's coming at him, and you and I, if we had a bullet coming at us, well, we wouldn't look like that. Well, when we're in test, that's kind of what it looks like. So you've got to execute in slow motion, or else you'll look like this. Or else you'll look like this. Or else you'll look like this. So you definitely don't want to end up like that. When you execute in slow motion, you can actually look more like this when a test question's coming at you.
I'm not afraid of the question. I'm in slow motion.
I own you.
So I hope that illustrated the point. The point is, either the questions is gonna beat you up, or you're gonna own the test and own the question. Last, but certainly not least, you've got to use paper. Burn a forest down worth of trees. It doesn't matter. Do you understand? Think about it. People come over and they see a stack of paper and they're like, maybe I only should take one piece of paper so I don't hurt the trees. By the way, all the trees have already been destroyed to make that stack of paper. So use the paper. The point is, guys, isn't really about trees and destroying trees. The point is about you not getting anxiety by looking at the test and then looking at your scrap paper and having 25 questions of math right here at the top of the paper. That brings me stress. It should bring you stress too. So take question 1 and give yourself plenty of space and keep using paper as much as you need to get through the test. Even if it's a writing section, people are like, well, I need scrap paper for math. Excuse me. If you're writing, you're going to need to brainstorm, so ask for some paper. Do whatever it takes to be successful. These are some soft skills. I hope they work. Good luck.